Hello everyone, I welcome you all to this lecture. So, as we have already discussed the meaning of research, even we have discussed the various types of research that we have classified into pure and applied type of research. Then we have gone through the first step of research methodology, that is setting out your research problem, what you want to do. Then we have carried the second step of research development, that is called as a hypothesis. How you should select your hypothesis, what are the various types of hypotheses, how you can test your hypothesis. Even we have done that part. Then we continued with the third part, that is related to the research design. We discussed that research design is what? It is a process of converting the strategies and the plan into write-ups in a very systematic way so that further research work can be done. So now, depending upon the objective and the aim of researcher, the method of conducting the research also changes. And over here in this lecture, we will start discussing the various types of research designs. Yes, with the change in the motive of your research work, your research pattern also changes. However, the final output is to give the justification for your hypothesis. Your hypothesis can be null or either it can be alternative. So, we will take a quick glance of what we have already learned in research design lecture, and then we will further discuss the various types of research. So now we will start with the presentation form, and one by one we will discuss the types of research. Okay. So we have discussed earlier in the lecture, what do you mean by research design? It is a process of converting the statements, the ideas, the objective into write-ups so that it can be further carried in a very smooth way. It is a systematic plan, it is a structure and a strategy of investigation. It is the purpose of this is for collecting, analyzing and interpreting observations. So we have discussed what do you mean by good research design. It should be a complete explanatory guide. It should follow the principles of management and many other more factors we have discussed. Then we discussed what should be put in your research design. You should be aware of the continuous and the discrete variables. Discrete variables are the variable whose magnitude changes but in the terms of integers, whereas the continuous variables are the variables whose magnitude changes but with the change in the decimal points. Defining dependent and independent variable, we have taken the example of it. Say we have considered the season and the crop. So crop is dependent upon season. So season is independent variable and crop is dependent variable. Then we have discussed about the extraneous variable, the variables which create the impact on the study. However, they are not directly related to the research. Control conditions, it is the development process or it is the development parameter in which you want to conduct your research work. Research hypothesis, we have already discussed, it is the assumptions which are put further, which are related to the probable outcomes that may come. Control groups and experimental groups. Experimental groups are the groups over which we perform the experiment with the special condition subjection. Whereas control groups are the groups in which the testing is being done but it is exposed to the common conditions. Treatment is the set of experiments that you will be performing, that you are giving, that you want to study on the particular set of samples. Experiment, it is the process of justifying your facts. Experimental unit, again it is the group of the samples that you want to test. Experimental and non-experimental hypothesis testing research, we have already discussed. It is related to the variable independent and dependent variables. Even we have discussed the part related to it in detail about the effect of variables on the behavior of the sample study. So now we will start with the first part of research methodology, and in this research methodology there are various methods of conduction. We will discuss one by one. So on the basis of research design type, research design can be classified as experimental, historical and inferential, exploratory, descriptive and casual, experimental and ex post fact, case and clinical studies, sample survey, field study, laboratory experiment, descriptive and experimental studies, descriptive and casual, quasi-experimental study, pre-experimental and survey work. Now what we will do, we will reform these types into some common categories and then we will discuss one by one. So our first type of research we have considered is exploratory research design. This research is done for finding the observation and output in more depth. When you want to explore in more depth, you conduct this type of research design. It investigates the terms in depth. Since the aim is broad enough, initially it is kept flexible so that more and more studies can be done and more interrelated findings can be discovered. So whenever you want to do the studies in depth, whenever you want to find the maximum parameters related to the work, your objectives and aim is very broad. At that time you need to consider this type of research study. Now what are the various methods that can be further divided in it? Primary survey method, second is secondary survey method, and third is stimulation and analysis method. Now, what do you mean by the primary survey method? So, the primary survey method basically depends upon, there are two survey methods. One is called as primary and the secondary. Primary survey are basically related to the collection of the data by oneself, performing directly or conducting the experiment on the set of samples. Secondary survey is related to gathering the information from the work which is already done by others. And third is stimulation and analysis. So when we talk about the secondary survey method, what we do is that we do the survey of the literatures. Now what happens when we do the survey of literatures? It gives us the idea of the work that is being already done by other authors, other researchers, and from that we can make out that which part is lacking in the experimental work that is already done and what are the option or the scope for you to carry out the particular research. It gives you many clues to conduct your research work. Primary survey method is basically related to one-to-one conduction of survey. It means that the sample is considered by the relationship between the respondent and the researcher. In primary survey method, one conducts the survey, may be related to some, if we take some example, maybe it related to the feedback of some product. That is a part of primary survey. Taking the interview of an individual is a part of primary survey. Gathering the information, going to the office and conducting the checklist, carrying out the work related to particular project by being part of it is again a part of primary survey. And the third method is related to the stimulation and analysis method. In this method, what is done, whenever you want to explore a particular topic, you create a model or a prototype of it. You give the same environmental conditions, but of course for that you should be aware of the various factors that will be affecting in reality to your set of samples. So you stimulate, you create the same conditions, and then you carry out your research work and do the analysis. There are various examples that can be related to the exploratory research design. Since it is a very broader research topic, it is a very broad research design. So it consists of primary survey method, secondary and stimulation method. Now, we have already discussed this, that the primary survey method, in this method, the survey of the people related to or having experience related to hypothesis set is done. The participant of the survey are called as respondent, and their interview and investigation is done. This method should give flexibility in set of survey sheet. Survey sheet is what? Whatever we want to ask, we write up in a particular paper, and that paper, that questionnaire is being asked to the respondent. And while doing that, your survey sheet should not be very rigid, because it should give the opportunity to the respondent to give some other reply which is not already mentioned in your survey sheet. Now, why it is necessary? Because it is difficult for an individual to recognize all the factors affecting the experimental set. When more and more people are included in your research work, more and more broader aspect of consideration increases, and thus we should keep our work survey sheet flexible enough so that they can give their remark too. This method is dependent upon the view and the feedback of the respondent. Again, respondent is one who is the participant and who is readily accepting your survey sheet to reply back. And thus the credit of the respondent matters. It means that when your complete survey, primary survey work depends upon the process of interaction with the respondent, it is very necessary that how wisely you choose your respondents. It should be concerned with your work. Suppose if you want to do the construction of a building and you want to find out the efficiency of a mason, then your respondents can be the civil engineer, contractor, or mason himself. But if you mistakenly choose any other person about the efficiency, maybe the person related to some textile industry which is not related to the construction industry, so that response will not be very effective, and thus it is very necessary that you should check the credit as well as the person's scope of experience with your research design work. Secondary survey work. This method seems to be the most simple, yet the gist is in gap finding. What it means is that we do the study of the various literature that the people has done already, and from that work you find out what they have done, what they have mentioned, what problem they faced, what were their conclusion, what you want to do, and how your work can be correlated with their work, or what is the gap between your expectation and what work they have done. The method says that the study of the other research paper, reports, news, statistical data, etc. similar to the hypothesis under your consideration shall be studied. The source of the data of prime importance and should be authentic. Yes, of course, whenever you are referring some data and you want to take the information from that data should be authentic. That should be real. The fact and figure should not be tempered. After finding the hypothesis undertaken and already work done by other, one basis of gap analysis, the hypothesis can be reframed. This method is very useful as it helps to explore many more things. Then the third is stimulation and the case modeling. In this method is normally used when much data related to the hypothesis set is not available. In this method, the actual set of experiment is carried out on live cases. It is also sometimes remarked as insight stimulating study. Maybe the change in the phase of labor at small scale industry due to the change in automation. So whenever you want to do the study related to this, that how the advanced technology, automation is creating impact on the labors, then you need to be the part of experiment and to conduct your experiment on live sites. Since it considers the aspect of others, it is necessary to keep flexibility in setting the hypothesis. Now, what is a hypothesis? Again, it is the assumption, it is the probable outcome expected, and thus alternative hypothesis is chosen. Alternative hypothesis give you the broader option of choosing one out of the two. The proper modeling of the experiment and its analysis for checking the hypothesis is necessary. So we have discussed related to the exploratory research design. We will stop over here, and in the next lecture we will start with the part of descriptive and diagnostic research design. Thank you.